back at 8 years old, my uncle committed suicide. I was closer to him than anyone in my family, my friends, or anything like that. My biggest inspiration, my idol. And after he did that, I just became addicted to pretty much anything that would give me the way out to avoid getting proved that I'm not lovable, that I'm not good enough, and that I don't measure up, and because I didn't want to get hurt again.
That's Jacob Manning, and this is the Yoga Life podcast. Hello there. I've got some exciting news. I've just paid a deposit to host my first ever retreat. Yeah. I've taught on retreats before, but this will be the first time I'm ever going to host one. It's going to happen in September. It's going to happen in Ireland, and that's all I can say for now. Sorry about that. If you're listening to this maybe like in April, June time, then it's likely that it's up on my website. If you go to kevinboyleyoga.ie /events or retreats, it'll be up there. So it's quite exciting. I'm really looking forward to this. I feel like this could be the area that I want to expand into because when I was younger, my house where I grew up was the house that everyone came to before we go on a night out. My mum is like the hostess with the mostess. She loves doing that, and I take after her really. So I like being the person that brings other people together, and it's quite exciting to think that this could be something I can do more of, initially in Ireland and then hopefully abroad. So this is the first of many, fingers crossed. Okay, went off on a bit of a tangent there just at the very beginning. I'm well, in case you're wondering, but I'm not sleeping much. And I feel fine though. I don't know what that means. I mean, I sleep probably 4-5 hours a night, and that's it. I don't really nap. I try to, but I can't really. I'm flying along, and hopefully it doesn't all come crashing down. So, Kevin Ball, dead at 40. But I shouldn't say that, should I? But I feel good, so let's just crack on, shall we? All right. Listen, thank you so much to everyone that's been supporting the podcast, either through the sponsors or directly. I'm bowled over by, I get a little ping in my inbox saying this person has contributed X amount to you this month and has subscribed. And then they're sending little messages as well. It's not even the amount, it's the fact that people are writing little messages saying, I've been listening for 6 months, a year, and this podcast has really helped me. So thank you to all the people that have supported me through DonorBox. And I use DonorBox because, not that you probably noticed, but if you go onto my website, kevinboyleyoga.ie /support the Yoga Life podcast, you'll see that it's driven by DonorBox. They're the client that take do the admin. And I've chosen not to use Patreon. I'm going to go into this in another episode when I do a solo one, but there's been some things happening with Patreon where they've deplatformed people for using certain words completely out of context. And I am a massive proponent, a believer in free speech, and I don't want to be censored by anyone. So that's why I chose not to go with Patreon. And this was a decision that took a while for me to make, but I'll go into that, like I said, in a separate episode. But for now, this is all about Jacob. And with Jacob, when you listened, you'll find out more about his background and his struggles with addiction. And I find addiction fascinating because we're all addicted to something. I mean, for me, it's probably sugar, because if I have I know it sounds like very superficial or minor compared to Jacob, who was at one stage addicted to heroin. But if there's a packet of, that's even silly saying this, but if there's a packet of biscuits in my house, or I go to my mum's house, I will eat the whole packet. That's an issue. And I think it's because I try to be so healthy that when I get a chance to be naughty, I go overboard. I'll have 2 or 3 desserts. And yeah, it's just something to recognize in yourself, that addiction, whatever form it comes in. And also my phone. I'm definitely addicted to my phone, 100%. And this is a more recent thing. But I'm not beating myself up about it. It's just these are things, these behaviors that it's good to be aware of. So Jacob talks about his experience in a lot more detail and where his addiction stemmed from. So it ended up being quite a light-hearted podcast, and yeah, it all turned out well in the end. So let me tell you about our sponsors, because my sponsors. It's just me here sitting in my loft in a corner, and I'm doing this in one take because I'm sticking away, trying to get away from all this editing business, trying to sound slick. So the first one is Arm Apparel. Now, if you're a yoga teacher, and which I am, if you didn't know that, I got so sick of wearing tracksuit bottoms all the time. So I'd go teach the classes, then maybe I'd go out with my missus afterwards, go for dinner, and I'm in tracksuit bottoms, or I've got to bring loads of spare trousers with me, and it's just a hassle. So I wear Om a lot because they make clothing that you can wear in the yoga studio. It's very practical, very good high quality materials, but also then you can wear it out to the pub or the coffee shop afterwards. So that's why I like them. And also I'm really trying my best. I've just bought some another reusable coffee cup because I keep losing them, and do their best to work within sustainable procedures, so looking after the environment, and it's all recycled fabrics, and even their packaging is recycled paper. So I mean, all their fabrics are eco certified, and I think like sometimes you feel like the little things don't make a difference, but they really do. These tiny little decisions we make, what clothes we wear, what products we use, how much plastic we use. So if you would like to learn more about Om, you can visit them at om.com, and if you'd like a bit of a discount, go to om.com/the Yoga Life Podcast, use that URL, and then you can go check out all their eco-active wear for men, because that's what they make clothes for. And then anything that you like, you can just put it in your basket, put in the promo code Kevin, nice and simple, for 15% off, and it's not valid for clearance items. That's Kevin, 15% off at checkout. The other lovely, beautiful sponsor I have are 108 Asana Yoga sequencing cards by Yogaroo. They because it is a struggle being a teacher, trying to be creative. I'm not saying you have to reinvent the wheel every time you teach a class, but to put sequences together that make sense for people, that have a good structure, have a beginning, a middle, and end, and that have a peak pose, and are structured in a way that you can have, your alignment cues, how to have the class at the right level for the right people. So 108 Asana cards make these really beautiful cards that come in this lovely turquoise box, and all the cards give you your alignment cues, your level guides, your anatomy coding, and they also translate the Sanskrit to the English names, which I used to really struggle with because I was terrible in school. I never studied French or anything like that. I was terrible at languages, so Sanskrit was really difficult for me. So it's great that you have, without having to get an internet connection, you have a hard copy of English to Sanskrit. So if you want to check them out, you go to www.yogaroo.ie. Again, the promo code Kevin, and get 10% off your box, which will have all your cards in it. That's yogaroo.ie, Kevin at the checkout for 10% discount. So as I said, I'll bring in Jacob now. The yoga retreat is going to be in September, so check out that event. My handstand workshop in end of March is sold out, but I will have another handstand workshop coming up. All of those details, once they're up, will be in the events section of my website, Kevin Boyle Yoga. And you can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Kevin Boyle Yoga. That's probably the easiest way to keep up to date. So that's it. I've said a bunch there. Here's Jacob. Nice, man. Okay, cool. Let's do this. Jacob, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, thanks for taking the time out to speak with me. Wait, are you in California now?
Yeah, I live in Orange County, California, Dana Point.
What's it like there?
It's been raining a lot lately. It's rained more now the last couple months than it has in the 7 years I've lived here. So it's been good for the fires.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Of course, I heard about that. It was that was pretty savage, man. And but you travel around quite a lot, aren't you? You're going to Bali next month, or are you
Yeah, I'm going to
for a retreat?
Bali the beginning of next month.
Have you been there much before?
Yeah, this will be my third time going to Bali.
Okay, yeah. I'm actually due to go there for the first time in May, so I only booked it a couple of weeks ago. But it seems to be a lot of yoga going on in there in Bali. There and like Sri Lanka seems to be pretty good. So what's the retreat that you're doing? Is it just yourself, or are you partnering up with someone else?
No, it's just myself doing it by myself, and the purpose for the retreat is just to give people a fresh start and to be able to heal from anything in their past and open up some possibilities for their future.
It must be quite challenging though to retreat by yourself, to have to look after all of those people. Because I've heard people say who've done hosted retreats that when you've got someone else, like a partner, um, it can be a bit easier because you can share the responsibility. Is it quite emotionally challenging because you're having to support so many people over such an extended period of time?
Well, my girlfriend helps me as well. So
Right.
she is a huge part of putting this retreat together, and um, I really appreciate it. So it's still really it's exhausting putting the retreat together for sure, and keeping up on like the retreat center with the funds and
Yeah.
answering everyone's questions, and it's a lot of work.
Hmm. Yeah, because it's a massive involvement. But I suppose, as you said, you're off. I imagine you get a lot out of it. I'm yet to host my first retreat, but I imagine it's quite a fulfilling experience for you as well as them.
Oh yeah, of course. And I can tell you, it's not much work when you're. It's not really work when you're on the retreat, even though
Mm,
you're the teacher and stuff. It's a break from like day to day life, and that's really important for me for like my well being, and I know it is for other people and people that are going on the retreat and people that have never been on a retreat that are like just missing out and not just taking the leap of faith. Like I
mm,
know that for a fact because I was in those same shoes once before.
mm. Yeah, and those going actually delving into that a little bit deeper. Um, you talk about being in those shoes before and before you started yoga because I know Louis and I know Shelby and the guys down at Arm, and I know you've worked with Arm as well. And I was reading your article with them and talked about your your story with addiction and recovery. Um, is that? Would you mind kind of explaining what that involved?
Well, yeah, no problem. My story with my addiction. You want to like what that was
Yeah,
like?
yeah. What was it in the
Well,
form of?
like what drugs was I using?
Yeah.
I was an IV heroin addict and cocaine addict and meth and uh, prescription pills and a little bit of alcohol, but not really. And that was my selection of things that I would use, and it just I didn't just use and grab a needle and put it in my arm or whatever. I It progressed and progressed, and my like my drawing the line, I just kept stepping over it, like I'll never do this, and then next thing you know, I'm doing that, and until the power of choice became completely unavail.
Mm. And do you mind me asking what brought this on? This need to seek comfort in drugs?
Well, it just it pretty much so using drugs gives me a sense of beyond belonging, beyond contentment, beyond comfort, beyond satisfaction. It gives me this perception that I am, like God, the highest of everything, and I'm like the final judge, and I'm like this false sense of self, like I'm the best. This feeling that I'm the best that I could ever be. So uh, why stop? And when I'm not, when I'm coming down, it's a terrible
Mm.
feeling, and I go back up, and then eventually it just becomes like the same thing as drinking water every day. I'll die without it.
Mm. But before it got into the harder stuff, even the prescription stuff, did the addiction show up in any other behaviors, such as even things that seem quite innocent, like video games or
Oh
sugar or anything like that? Did you have addictive personality before that?
Oh yeah, man. When I was a little kid, I used to collect Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I'd I'd leave my parents' door cracked open, my door cracked open. I turned the volume all the way down on my video games. Crash Bandicoot, Mortal Kombat, uh, Spyro, and I'd play my video game, and if I heard, or I'd slowly close their door, not open it, so if I could hear it open, and if it opened, I'd jump up, turn the TV off, and like hide my
Mhm.
remote control under my sheets and pretend to be asleep. And then I'd wait. I'd get back up and I'd go into the room, reclose the doors, leave my door open, have the volume down, turn it back on and play so I could do the same thing again. That was my scheme. And I
Yeah.
would do that all the way up till, I'd do the same thing with drugs, go on like 15 years later.
Mm. Yeah, because I don't know if you listen to do you listen to the Joe Rogan Experience, the Joe Rogan podcast?
No, but I know who Joe Rogan is, and I've heard him speak a lot. He's very enthusiastic, and
Mm.
he's very into consciousness and being healthy, and he has
Hmm.
a
Yeah,
really desire to figure it out. That's for sure.
yeah. He had a brilliant guy on just this week called Johan Hari, who's a specialist in addiction. And one of the things that stuck with me was he said the opposite of addiction is connection. So essentially, we become addicted to things because we're lacking a connection in our life. It's not that we necessarily do it because we want to behave badly. We do it because we're trying to fill a gap, or trying to self medicate for some previous trauma. Is there anything? And again, if it's too much to talk about, or we can always cut this out, that's fine. But is there anything that you can think about in your life, a moment where you can draw back to that think that moment really affected me, and I think that may have caused my dependency upon video games, heroin, or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I started avoiding life. And by the way, I'll answer anything the best I can. You can use anything. I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide. I know
Okay.
eventually that I'm not going to be alive, so I want to help out as much as I can.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Appreciate it.
Of course. So back 8 years old, my uncle committed suicide. I was closer to him than anyone in my family, my friends, or anything like that. My biggest inspiration, my idol. And after he did that, uh, I just became addicted to pretty much anything that would give me the way out to avoid um, getting proved that I'm not lovable, that I'm not good enough, and that I don't measure up, and because I didn't want to get hurt again, because I've been hurt in my life, like over and over and over again, and I have a part in everything. I know that,
Mm.
but getting hurt sucks. So yeah, it's part of
Mm.
life.
Well, man, that's it's interesting you say that, because, and I'm sorry to hear that, but I was talking to someone recently about this, how we have a father, hopefully we have a father or a father figure. And then when we get to a certain age, normally adolescence, we have an uncle or a coach figure who becomes like our second father, who shows us the way. And they're both of equal importance. So when you talk about your uncle, I think that for any young man to have someone who they idolize, they look up to, for that to happen. Did you say it was through suicide?
Yeah, suicide. He killed himself 20 years ago today.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
And especially in that manner as well. It wasn't like he had an accident and it was just a bad luck. It was someone taking their own life. People may not realize it, but I'm sure that affects children. Children are a lot smarter than I think adults give them credit for, and are far more perceptive about things that are going on around them. And I think that that's understandable why that would have affected you so badly. Um, so, how did you turn it around, as it were, in terms of getting out of the situation you were in?
Yoga, therapy, and before those two things appeared, I got in enough pain and suffering that I just, raised my hand and uh, asked for help, and was willing and honest, and just would take suggestion. And
Mm.
I tell you, if you take suggestion and you're willing from people that have inner peace, success in any way that you want, either financially, emotionally, physically, and you just take their suggestion and do what they're doing, that's the same results you'll get. No one's a special snowflake, and no
Mm-hmm.
one's really that unique. Everyone has very similar stories, and very different stories, and
Mm.
I have been able to relate with people that have turned it around before me,
Mm.
and now I do the same thing. Pay it forward, and also keep working on myself.
Yeah. Do you find yourself? You mentioned there about keep working on yourself. Do you find yourself ever relapsing? I don't mean as in taking drugs again, but I mean relapsing into moments where you feel overwhelmed. Because what you've mentioned at the very start when we first came on the call was about holding space for people in a retreat in a foreign country where they've come and some of them maybe have quite a lot of emotional baggage. They're there for different reasons, and they have expectations of you because you're this, you know, Instagram star yoga, and they may think, okay, this guy, I'm going to go on his retreat and he can make me feel good for a week. So there's a lot a responsibility on your part, and anyone that hosts a retreat in particular. Do you ever have moments where you just kind of freak out? I mean, I can know what this feels like. Even when you just teach a regular class, sometimes you think, oh man, I'm not. I don't know if I'm up for speaking in front of 30 people. Did you have moments like
Yeah, the phony. I'm a phony thought for sure.
that?
Like one of my best friends, his name's Mike Davis, and he always, after he says something that's amazing and inspirational, he thinks them second after the thought, oh man, I'm such a phony. And that's like the ego, and that's where the work is, and that's where everyone is just a human. And even though I'm the leading the retreat, I'm the teacher. That doesn't make me any better than any of the students. That doesn't make me any better than any of the people that work at the place. And
Mm.
just having like that awareness, that it's okay to feel sometimes lost and sometimes overwhelmed and stressed out and anxious, and that's where the the control is. Control is and because I would get stressed out if I was teaching or speaking, say, in front of 50 people, if I
Mm.
thought and I had the delusion that I really could control if they're enjoying what I'm saying or they're not. And that's
Interesting.
the first dishonest lie that I'll tell myself. And that's where I get back into lapsing, like you ask, where I'm playing this whatever I think is more powerful than me, that I'm more powerful than that. Whatever I believe is bigger than Jacob, I'm now bigger than that. As soon as I'm starting to feel like that stress, that anxious, overwhelmed, uh, not good enough, judged, they're not liking what I'm saying. I'm doing all this stuff in my head and in light year seconds, and then I just stop, take a deep breath, and acknowledge that there I go again, trying to run the show, control everything, and there's no there's no sense of freedom in that. There's absolutely no power in that as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, if you try to, it's almost. If do you ever have that those occasions where you're teaching a class and you'll notice there's one or two people in the class that you think just don't like you, or they have. I mean, I know when I'm practicing yoga, sometimes I can look a bit mean because I'm actually really enjoying it, but I'm taking it quite seriously, and I have times where I think, oh, that person down the back they're annoyed with me, and then they're the one that will come up to the end of the class and say, that was a really great class. And for the whole hour, you're thinking they hate me. But um, so I suppose, as you said, it's about relinquishing control and almost letting yourself be a conduit or a not. Tony Robbins said it brilliantly recently about kind of almost there to serve and not letting your ego think like, oh, everyone must like me, and just being a bit more what's the word I'm looking for, Jacob?
Real,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
no one is
yeah,
ever gonna always like you.
yes,
That's delusion.
hmm yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, there you go. What you said about the class. It's as simple as that. I could be teaching a class with 30 people in there, and you know what? There's always that one person that's doing their own thing. There's always that one person that doesn't want to really try. And then you know what? Maybe they're injured. Maybe they
Yeah,
just got divorced yesterday. Maybe they're freaking. You never know what's going on in people's life. Like, and the
yeah,
truth is, I know what it's like to be going through something that's horrible, and you barely can get to the class and you barely can do anything, and
mm,
like that's where the inner work is to be done and to be shared and to ask for help, so that you're not stuck in that too long, because
mm-hmm.
like getting out of the darkness is is it's harder to do the longer you wait.
Yeah, man, that is such a good point. Like, it is the ego, isn't it? When you want everyone to like you, that is your ego. That's you saying, not allowing someone to do, yeah, to maybe they feel sad or they feel angry, to let them be that way, and just accept the fact that that's their experience, and to not let it all be about you, the teacher, which is, yeah, that you're right, man. That is definitely the work, I think. Um, so, aside from yoga, do you do, because you can do very physically impressive stuff? Does that all come from yoga, or do you do anything else outside of traditional yoga movement in terms of training, physical training?
Well, I love sports. I'll tell you that right now. I really like sports. I love football. I love baseball. So anytime I could throw one of those things, I'm a happy guy. I haven't thrown a baseball for a while, but I definitely throw football around during football season a lot. But I
Mm,
like to surf, rock climb, um, I'll run sometimes. Something that I'm not familiar with because I have like I'm an addict, you know. I'm not just a drug addict. Like I am an addict at anything that makes me feel good, and when it makes me feel good, I want more until other areas of my life start to not keep getting watered, enriched, and grow. They start to digress. Like if I do say yoga 7 days a week, 4 hours a day, which by all means I've done. And then before I know it, like I don't have friends. I'm not talking to my family. Like I haven't done my laundry. Like my life there becomes unmanageable again. It's healthy to do a few things for exercise and not always one thing. And
Yeah, I agree.
that answers your question.
Yeah, man, absolutely. That's yeah, to keep it balanced like that. It's so, yeah, because rock climbing is a big one, and I think that is so important for as a counter to all the pressing that you do in yoga anyway. And plus, it's good. It's interesting for your mind instead of just going to the gym. So I appreciate that we've only got 30 minutes. So I wanted to run through. Actually, before I got these kind of Larry King style quick fire questions I wanted to run through with you, and they're kind of like you don't need to think too much about them. They're almost 1 or 2 word responses. But so I'll do them. I'll do them now. All right. So you ready, Jacob?
Yep.
What's your favorite city and why?
Chicago. It's my favorite city because I don't know, my heart's there, man. I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan, and it's just it excites me, that city.
Interesting. Okay. What's your first ever job?
My first job?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. I worked at Dry Creek Kitchen, Hillsburg, as a busser. That's my first job.
Is that when you bring people the food at the table?
Exactly. But my first job where I was like, you know, I considered it a job for the job reason was Taco Bell.
Okay. All right. The service industry anyway. So, person from history you wish you could take to lunch?
Alive or dead?
Either's good.
Either's good?
Yeah.
My Uncle Craig.
That's a good one. Most memorable career moment?
Wow. That's a really hard one, buddy.
Sorry, man. All right. Give us one that's in your top 5. The one that comes to mind that kind of makes you smile and go, yes, that was a milestone.
Just recently, teaching my workshops in Doha, Qatar. I was by myself. I got done with a huge, long, months of teaching, 10 hours a day, and finally had some time off. And I went to do this by myself on my own. It was a good achievement. I really had a great time.
Okay. That's a good one. Weirdest fan encounter?
Wait, where's what?
Fan encounter. Has anyone sent you, I don't know, underwear or something like that?
Where does fan encounter?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't. Dude, you have no idea. I don't know, man. People, people seem to really like my feet.
Oh wow!
Yeah, my feet. And what else? Oh man, and then, dude, I've just got asked a lot of things. Yeah, that's
the feet is a good one. I mean, so what? They ask for pictures of your feet, or just talk about your feet?
Just tell me how amazing my feet are.
Well, that's good to know, though. I mean,
yeah,
it is a bit strange, but I mean, you got your feet out a lot when you're a yoga teacher, so hey,
dude, I don't discriminate. Whatever, it's all good. You know, if I make your day because you like my feet, or I make your day because you think I have a cute butt, right on, dude. Thanks for sharing. I'm glad you're.
Yeah, it's always so good. What's your biggest pet peeve? Do you use that expression in America, pet peeve, as in something
Of,
that irritates you?
oh yeah, my biggest
Okay.
pet peeve is when I see people like trying to either like control traffic or like just stuff that you obviously have no control over. When I see that.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
then the other pet peeve I have that's very similar to that is when you can like speak but you don't, and you just keep talking about it. Does that make sense? Like like just keep continuing on talking about the problem of about something
Ah,
confliction instead of just approaching the person like telephone even. You know?
yeah. Yeah, that's a
That
good one.
makes sense.
Thank you, man. That's great. If you could travel, three more questions. If you could travel back in time to when you were 18 and you had just one sentence to say to yourself, what piece of advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Buy as much Bitcoin as you can.
That's pretty practical.
That's good, huh?
That's a good one, man. That's a good one.
That's a damn good one. You didn't see that coming, did you?
No,
Or
you got me
Amazon.
there.
Or Amazon. Buy as much Amazon as you can.
Yeah, yeah,
Whatever.
you knocked out the park. That was a good one. All right, second last question. Things people get wrong about you.
That's the best question you've asked, man.
Thanks, man.
That people get wrong about me.
Yeah. Like
Um,
normally you say an assumption they made about you from social media, and then when they meet you, they're like, "Oh, you're this compared to what I thought."
they get what's wrong about me. I can tell you a couple things. One is that I'm not like 6'2". I'm like barely almost 5'9".
It's above
And
average.
number
Yeah.
two, would be like number two would be like what you say really meant something, like whether it was negative or positive. Like I felt what I feel what people say. I'm super sensitive, and
Mm.
like for example, I got ripped on about riding on an elephant when I was in Sri Lanka, and I
Mm.
got like ripped apart, man. And I almost was like, I'm done with social media, and
Wow.
I learned a lot from that. I'll tell you that. But yeah, and that like I'm just a regular guy, man. I'm a human just like everyone else, and
Mm.
no matter what, man, like I can look up to anybody who's say super famous and someone that's not famous at all, and everyone knows something that I don't know, and I know something they don't know, and that we're all equal.
Mm. Yeah, nice, man. Last question, Jacob. If you weren't a yoga teacher, what would you be?
If I wasn't a yoga teacher, what would I be? um, uh, Maybe I'd try to play professional sport again,
Hmm.
but I don't know if that would work out. I mean, I'd probably go for that though, to play either professional baseball or be like a receiver. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a hard question just because like I never planned to be a yoga teacher, so I became a yoga teacher when I stopped looking to figure out what I wanted to do. Things that have come to me have been when I've least expected them, and I've been open to receiving what the universe is ready to show me and bring to me.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Jacob. So that is it. That's our episode done. Thank you so much, man. If people want to find out more about you, where would they go?
Where would they go if they want to find out more about me?
Yeah, what's your Instagram, your Facebook?
My Instagram's Jacob Manning Yoga, and I share a lot about myself, my life, and try to share what the average male person in this society, in the way we've been conditioned, is not open to sharing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's a good cause, and I hope you keep up the great work. So, Jacob, thank you so much. Boom, there you go. That's Jacob. Hope you enjoyed that. Once again, retreat, September. It's happening. Details to follow. If you listen to this close to September 2019, then there will be details up on website Kevin Boyle Yoga. And once again, you can support this podcast if you find it of value by either reviewing it on iTunes, sharing it on social media with a friend. You can blog about it, talk about it in your own podcast, or you can subscribe and support directly on kevinboyleyoga.ie /support the Yoga Life podcast, which will give you access to our private Facebook group, the Yoga Life podcast community, and Ask Me Anything sessions. Finally, big thanks to the lovely Ruth at 108 Asana Yoga Sequencing Cards by Yogaroo. Ruth is a former graphic designer, and she's designed these really beautiful cards that come in this lovely little turquoise box that help you to simplify your sequencing and bridge that gap between the studio classes and your home practice, so that your home practice can be more accessible when you're traveling, and even just with building a class plan, which I know a lot of teachers find quite tricky. So all the cards feature alignment cues, level guides, anatomy coding, and the Sanskrit to English names. Go to yogaroo.ie, use the promo code Kevin for 10% discount off. That's yogaroo.ie. Use the promo code Kevin for 10% discount. As always, thank you all so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I have had quite a few questions coming through. People leave me voice notes. So I do plan to do a Q&A session. So if you have any more questions for me, fire them across either on my website or on my Instagram, Kevin Boyle Yoga. And let's keep in touch and keep the conversation going. Thanks.